Hi, I'm Priya Warner, Head of Policy at the Fundraising Regulator. Thank you for tuning in to this e-learning webinar on 5 top tips to avoid fundraising fraud, created as part of International Charity Fraud Awareness Week. The week brings together everyone involved in the charity and not-for-profit sectors to raise awareness and share good practice in tackling fraud and financial crime. We encourage you to share this video and any of our other resources with your colleagues. We know that fraudsters target members of the public, particularly those who are vulnerable, and the Fundraising Regulator publishes guidance for members of the public about how to give safely. But what about your charity or fundraising organisation? You too are vulnerable to fraud, so it's important that you look at each area of your fundraising activity, consider where the potential risks are and how you can mitigate these. Have you got policies and processes in place so that if you suspect or become aware of fraud, you know what to do and who to inform? Do your staff and volunteers know what to do if they suspect or know about fraud? If the answer is no, then that's a good place for you to start. I'm going to work through one fundraising example to help you do this. It relates to collecting cash on private sites. If your charity fundraises on a private site, for example in a shopping centre or a pub, there are a number of ways that individuals might attempt to take money away from your charitable purpose, and today we're going to focus on 2 of these. The first is where you know that an individual is going to raise money for your charity, but the money isn't given to you. And the second is where you don't know that a person is claiming to be raising money for your charity, and they use your charity's cause and name to steal from members of the public. To mitigate the risks of an individual who is known to you from failing to pass the funds raised for your charity on, you should make sure you equip yourself with as much knowledge as possible about the individual and what they're planning. They may come into contact with you by email, but we'd advise you to make direct contact, pick up the phone and ask for specifics. Where and when exactly will they be fundraising on a private site? You shouldn't accept vagueness here. When and how will the money be transferred to the charity? Who will be the person that counts the money with them? Fraudsters may target charities because their cash handling processes are seen as weaker than other types of organisation. Weak recording and banking processes for donations could allow fraud to go undetected. It's also important that once you have the knowledge of where they're going to be collecting and when, that you ask to see the written permission from the private site, and then contact the private site yourself directly to confirm the fundraising is planned and that they have given permission. These are small and simple steps that you can take to reduce the risk of fraud. The second scenario is harder to manage. Where you have no prior knowledge of an individual fraudulently collecting funds on your charity's behalf, you should make sure you're alert to any information your organisation may receive about potential fraudulent activity. And that isn't limited just to intelligence from the police or in the case of public collections licensing authorities. What you can do is be alert and aware and listen for what you can hear about in terms of intelligence. Your staff and volunteers, your supporters, could all be rich sources of intelligence. So be alert to what you're hearing through general contacts made to your organisation by phone or email. And if you use social media, keep an eye on that too. This is another potential source of intelligence for you. Learn from others. Remember that all charities and fundraising organisations are susceptible to fraud. You are not alone in needing to think about ways of safeguarding against it. So learn from others. There may be useful learning and improvements that you can make to your own processes and procedures by looking at what others have done, either after they've experienced fraud or in terms of mitigating it. And also, share your learning with others. Talk about what's worked in your organisation so that others can maybe look at those and implement them too. And finally, report it. If you suspect someone is acting fraudulently in your charity's name, report it. If it's a localised issue, you may contact the local police, but also Action Fraud. You may also need to report any fraudulent activity to the Charity Commission as a serious incident, and you can find more information on their website. When it comes to fraud, be alert to the potential for it. Make sure you have policies and procedures in place so you and your staff know what to do if you know of or suspect fraud. Look online for examples to support you. Identify the ways that your fundraising could be at risk of fraud. Look at each type of fundraising activity individually. Think about how you can mitigate the risks and learn from others. You're not alone, so use your networks to learn and share learning. And finally, report it. If you need advice or support, you can contact the relevant regulator in your country, or in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, you can contact us, the fundraising regulator. Thank you for listening. Please remember to check out the other free resources created as part of the week, which are available on our online hub. Together we can keep charity fraud out.